Welcome to Khanversations. I'm Muqtedar Khan, your host, and today I'm going to talk about an interesting geopolitical development. Turkey has announced that it has applied for membership in BRICS. And what does that entail and what does it mean to the balance of power between G7 and BRICS? We shall talk about that. What does it also tell us about Turkey's search for a home, Turkey's search for meaning in global politics? But before I do that, please subscribe to Khanversations, like this video, press the bell icon, and don't forget to share this video with your socio-political network. And also, I want to suggest to all of you to try and become members of Khanversations because we are providing additional programming for members. For example, I'm speaking to a large body of students, PhD students and researchers in India about the impact of US elections on US foreign policy in the Middle East. And only members are invited to that talk. So you can, if you're a member, you can please register for the lecture. It will be on Saturday, 7 p.m. Indian Standard Time, and it will be at 9:30 a.m. New York time. That Turkey has formally announced that it is going to apply, or it has applied for membership in the BRICS. And it was I think, on June 11th that Hakan Fidan, the foreign minister of Turkey, who was formerly the head of Turkish intelligence, actually went and met with Vladimir Putin and basically expressed his interest. Increasingly, BRICS has become very popular. Just a couple of weeks ago, Anwar Ibrahim, the Prime Minister of Malaysia, visited India. And one of his stated goals was to lobby with India to essentially advocate for Malaysia's membership into the BRICS grouping. And also, there are other countries which are seeking to apply for membership. And the third one is Pakistan, which has been lobbying with Russia to essentially become a member of BRICS. And I think with if Turkey were to become a member soon, then it might even help Pakistan become a member of BRICS. So I find this very interesting. There are three members or three countries which are now online to become members of BRICS are Saudi Arabia. We will talk about it. Saudi Arabia has already been admitted, but it has not formally joined it yet. And then Turkey, and then Pakistan, and then Malaysia. It appears that BRICS Plus is becoming more and more Muslims Plus. So it's kind of becoming a grouping of Muslim countries with China, Russia, Brazil, and India. And I'll talk about that a little bit later during the program. But let's first consider what BRICS really is. It's very important. My colleague and friend Lucas from Brazil and I wrote a long essay for the Diplomat in which we talked about what BRICS seeks to achieve geopolitically. And it is our contention, based on the foreign ministers' meeting which was in Russia recently. We made this argument that what BRICS sought to do was not replace the global order, but reform the global order. So, for example, India, that is a member of BRICS, seeks to reform the Security Council, and India wants to become a member of the Security Council. It wants to alter the balance of power in global institutions and essentially reform multilateral governance. It's not trying to replace the World Bank or IMF or the UN or the UN Security Council. They just want these institutions to recognize that the world has changed significantly, and then that countries like China and India and Brazil and Saudi Arabia and Turkey are more important than Western countries like Canada or Sweden or others. So it's important that we recognize the changing geoeconomic order as well as geopolitical order, and therefore global institutions should not be representing the reality of 1945, but the reality of 2024. So that is the overall agenda of BRICS to summarize. But then there are a lot of other things, like BRICS has tried to create a bank which is important but not as significant as the World Bank. But it is becoming an important grouping. So usually when we talk about BRICS, we think of BRICS as an alternative to the Western hegemonic system, and the representative that is with which BRICS is compared is with G7. The G7 are the world's 7 most advanced countries. It used to be G8, including Russia, but Russia was expelled. And so the G7 countries are basically the United States, Canada, Britain, France, Japan, Germany, and Italy. And these are all not just advanced industrialized economies, but they're also supposedly liberal democracies. Increasingly, with the rise of right-wing parties in Europe, one could say that even G7 is becoming quite illiberal. In fact, I did a conversation on that, and you can probably look for it, the rise of illiberal Europe, on my channel, and that will pop up. But look at this chart. It basically tells you how BRICS is becoming significant. So, for example, this is before Turkey joining, but this does include Saudi Arabia. So the current membership of BRICS is basically the 5 countries from which it gets its name: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And then it has added new members, which is Ethiopia, Egypt, United Arab Emirates, and Iran. Argentina was also added, but Argentina withdrew, and Saudi Arabia has been offered membership, but it wants to be in as well as out. So while some people continue to count Saudi Arabia as a member, Saudi Arabia itself is demurring on its membership at BRICS, but it's just a matter of time, I think, that Saudi Arabia will be fully recognized as a member of BRICS. So based on that, before Turkey joins, and I will tell you a little bit about Turkey's state diagnostics in a moment, but BRICS is at the moment 36% share of the global GDP. Now it is clearly bigger than the G7 countries. And then if you look at obviously share of the world population, BRICS is just 10% of the world's G7 is just 10% of the world's population, whereas BRICS is 45%. So these 10 countries are nearly half of the world. If you look at oil production, I don't know why this is considered that significant. But anyway, BRICS produce 41% of the global oil, whereas G7 produces only 29%. But contribution to world economic growth. Now, this is very important. The growth of the global economy is coming from BRICS, 44%, and only 20% from G7. What that means is that the share of BRIC countries in the global GDP will continue to increase, in fact, at double the pace. So as the world grows, half of the growth, or 44% of the growth, is coming from G7 countries. So that is an important criteria to remember about BRICS, that it's growing in size, it's growing in significance, and its share of the global wealth is also increasing, which eventually will also translate into global power. Another point that I wanted to make was about Turkey. Turkey is a country of about 80 plus million people. Its current GDP is $1.2 trillion. Its per capita income is 12,760. It's basically exactly like China in terms of per capita GDP. Both countries are just short of becoming what you would call, according to World Bank, as high-income countries. So the high income, I think the standard at the moment is 13.5 thousand per capita, and they are just short of it. So in a couple of years, both Turkey as well as China will become high-income economies. But Turkey brings a lot. I mean, if you just look at Turkey and Saudi Arabia, between the two of them, and if you add United Arab Emirates to it, and Iran, the 4 of them are equal to India in the total GDP, about $4 trillion. So China is the biggest country with about $18-19 trillion, followed by India, which is about $4 trillion now. The graph that I'm showing is a bit dated. And Russia with over 2.2 trillion, and Brazil. So in that sense, the weight of these new countries will increase in the decision making. But what was interesting is who's lobbying whom. It appears that Muslim countries like Russia, Turkey, and Pakistan are lobbying Russia, which wants to expand BRICS basically to combat the pressure and the exclusion that the United States is trying to promote to isolate Russia from because of its invasion of Ukraine. But by expanding BRICS and being in the center of BRICS, Russia essentially is trying to tell the West that you cannot isolate us, and the same with China too. But let's contemplate on what Turkey's motives really are. Turkey is a member of G20. It is the 17th or 18th biggest economy. It is also a member of NATO. So it is an ally, a treaty-bound ally, and guaranteed, shall we say, kind of military defense by the United States, even France and others, according to the Article 5 of NATO. So in that sense, Turkey does not have major security concerns. As long as the United States remains a dominant military power in the world, Turkey is more or less safe from being invaded. Unlike Ukraine, the US would have had to go and fight if Turkey was invaded by Russia or any other country. But increasingly, Turkey has felt marginalized, and they feel as if the West is discriminating against Turkey. And the biggest example and reason for that is the systematic manner in which Turkey has been kept outside European Union, even though it has been trying for God knows how long. For more than 3 to 4 decades, Turkey has been trying to become part of the European Union. In fact, other countries which didn't even exist when Turkey started trying to become a member of the European Union have become members of both NATO as well as EU. I think Turkey has reached a point where it is kind of fed up. And given the economic decline and political, shall we say, disharmony in Europe, becoming part of European Union does not really appeal as much, I guess, to Turkey. But in NATO, it's important, but it's been having problems. And I think the whole S-400 issue where Turkey bought S-400 anti-aircraft weapons from Russia kind of upset America. And so Turkey was kicked out of the F-35 program. And in fact, even the sale of 40 F-16s to Turkey was put on hold, and which finally was renewed after Turkey basically bargained for it by voting to make Sweden a member of NATO. So in that sense, Turkey now has to fight to get anything from NATO. So increasingly, I think Turkey is also beginning to question the utility of being member of NATO. But I don't think Turkey will ever leave NATO unless some really, really crazy anti-West president comes up and takes her. Turkey has been fulfilling its NATO obligations, for example, like the war between Russia and Ukraine. Turkey supplies its famous for its drones, and those drones have protected Kiev in the early days of the war. So Turkey has provided weapons for Ukraine in the war, even though it is reaching out to Russia. So in that sense, Turkey is also trying to promote its own strategic autonomy like India. And so it wants to be part of the Western alliance, NATO, even though it can't become part of the common market of Europe. It wants to become part of BRICS. So in that sense, it's basically hedging in case BRICS becomes significantly more powerful and influential in global governance, then Turkey will already be there. But of course, this is going to create a lot of resentment in the West, a lot of resentment, particularly in NATO. And I remember watching the Council on World Affairs of Chicago Council on World Affairs, one of their podcasts, and in which they were discussing if there was a way in which Turkey could be expelled from NATO. So yes, there are many NATO members who are not very happy with Turkey as it is, but now it will become increasingly more happy. So it looks that by joining BRICS, the way it's being interpreted is Turkey is becoming more pro-Russia. But Turkey has also reached out to the SCO, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and is wanting to join there. So it looks as if Turkey is getting closer to China. In fact, SCO, Turkey will be quite a challenge to China in SCO because many of those the China, SCO is basically China, Russia, India, Pakistan, plus all the five stands, the Central Asian countries. And there's a lot of cultural and linguistic affinity between Turkey and the Central Asian countries. So in that sense, SCO was supposed to be China plus Central Asia. But with Turkey's presence in SCO, it will be interesting that especially given China's treatment of Uyghurs, I have a feeling that China will face a cultural challenge from Turkey, if not a military or economic challenge in SCO. So basically, Turkey is, I think, after the rejection from European Union, Turkey under Erdogan turned towards the Middle East, wanted to be the leader of the Middle East. If you remember, after the Arab Spring, Erdogan went all around the Arab world, taking a victory lap as if he played a role in the Arab Spring. And then after all the mess happened, and then the tension between Egypt and Turkey. So Turkey is not as much as welcome in the Middle East today as it used to be in the past, even though there were lots of talks of creating a Sunni NATO and so on and so forth. But still, Turkey is one of the non-Arab giants in the Middle East. So if you look at the four powers that dominate the Middle East, it is Israel, Turkey, Iran, and Egypt, and maybe Saudi Arabia. But lately, the relationship between Saudi Arabia and Turkey has improved, and they helped it. Saudi Arabia helped Turkey out when it was having problems economically. Turkey's economy is now recovering. It actually returned a $5 billion help that it had got from Saudi Arabia. I wonder what the Saudis think about Pakistan. They say, wow, we gave $5 billion to Turkey, and within a few years they returned it. When is Pakistan going to do that? But anyway, so this is an important development, and we should continue to watch it. Turkey is a very, very important player, and will continue to remain one of the top economies as well as major power. It is the second biggest army in NATO. Increasingly, Poland is going to replace Turkey as the second most important military power inside NATO. And as Turkey loses its favor with the US in particular, I think it will remain marginalized, even if it is a powerful player inside NATO. But I wanted to also make an observation about how BRICS is becoming more and more Muslim. So if you look at this memberships of BRICS, the original members were Brazil, Russia, China, and India, and South Africa. And then the new members are Ethiopia, United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Iran, and Saudi Arabia. So of the 5 new members that were added, 4 of them are Muslim countries, UAE, Egypt, Iran, and Saudi Arabia. And the 3 countries which seem to be in the pipeline next are Turkey, Pakistan, and Malaysia. I don't know what's going to happen with Argentina, which wanted to join, was admitted, and then withdrew. So if you look at this particular graphics that I generated, this is basically BRICS plus is becoming Muslim plus. So I even put India as green because India is the biggest Muslim country in BRICS with over 200 million Muslims, followed by Egypt, Pakistan. Pakistan is obviously, but Pakistan is not yet a member. So at the moment, India is the biggest Muslim country in BRICS with over 200 million Muslims. And so if Turkey, Pakistan, and Malaysia become part of it, then you could see that most of the BRIC is essentially a Muslim plus one. So anyway, well, this is an important development, and we should continue to, because I think it alters the balance of power between East and West, between G7 and BRICS, with Turkey moving in. And if Pakistan also joins BRICS, then you will see that there are more nuclear powers in BRICS than in G7. In G7, you have Britain, France, and the United States. But in BRICS, you will have Russia, China, India, and Pakistan. So there will be 4 nuclear powers if Pakistan were admitted. So anyway, it is important to see how fast BRICS expands, but just adding members is not enough. They need to add institutions which actually provide some form of supplementary global governance to existing institutions, or also alternative global governance. If the United States continues to abuse and weaponize the international system that it helped create to just help Israel and Ukraine. These days, that's all the US does. It's trying to destroy ICC. It's trying to say that UN Security Council's resolutions are not mandatory, etc., just to protect Israel, and then it has weaponized other institutions just to help Ukraine. And the US continues to basically destroy the very institutions that it created. It will weaken global governance, and it will probably give an opportunity for Brazil and Russia, China, South Africa, for BRICS to move forward and fill that gap in global governance. So I hope you found this conversation thought-provoking and interesting. Please subscribe to Khanversation, like this video, press the bell icon, and share this video with others, and do consider becoming a member of Khanversations. Until next time, I'm your host, Muqtedar Khan. Take care.